The majestic Rocky Mountains set the stage for a quest for one of the West's most coveted big game species.
That's a great one. I like him.
Two hosts of The Outfitters team up to take on the challenge of a high country spot and stalk hunt.
Top of the ridge.
Oh yeah, I see him on it.
It's a good buck.
The deck is stacked. Warm temperatures and a full moon will not make this hunt any easier. Will the mountains and the mule deer prevail? Behind the unforgettable adventure, behind that trophy of a lifetime,
Oh my God!
there's an outfitter who makes it all happen. Join our dream team of veteran hunters and anglers crisscrossing North America to find the hardest working men and women in the outdoors. This is The Outfitters.
I'm Haley Heath, and this week on The Outfitters, I'm hunting in gorgeous southern Colorado with Fred Eichler of Full Draw Outfitters. And of course, for this hunt, knowing what all it's going to entail, I decided to bring along the Ford F350 Super Duty. Fred, where are we exactly? I know that I got in late to Colorado Springs and drove for a couple of hours. That's all I know.
Realized you're a long way from the city lights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we are in southern Colorado, and the closest town really would be Aguilar, but you're on my ranch now.
So the season we're in right now is the second rifle season, is that correct?
That's correct. We've already gone through archery season, then we had first season, this is second rifle season. This is a combination season. You can actually hunt elk and deer in this season.
This weather is not feeling like the end of October should feel like to me, I would think.
No, you're right. We're at about 7,000 feet right now, and it's been warming up to 65 to 70 degrees. So, you know, what's happening right now, we've also got a full moon. So most of the animals are going in really early. They're coming out late. But, you know, it's going to be a little tough hunting, but we're going to start out and really try and get you a mule deer, look at a lot of different country, and I'd like to get you, a mature buck. That's really what our goal is going to be.
You know, I've been hunting as long as I could remember. My dad took me out for the first time when I was way little, and it's always been a huge passion of mine. Always enjoyed it, and I like people, I like the outdoors, and it was kind of a natural fit for me to become an outfitter and take people out to do what I love to do.
This is so gorgeous out here, Fred.
Isn't it a beautiful view? Well, this is one of the higher spots on our ranch, and what's cool, looking across here, you can see we've got oats and alfalfa planted right down here. You can see where I actually cut a bunch of you can see I left the middle. So I actually took and I baled up some of it for the horses and for the cattle, but I left some strips in there for the elk and for the deer. And then over there, you see the lake over there? We go up over there to that road. And then behind us here, we go up toward that ridge up there.
Okay.
The other really cool thing about this area, you see how if you look through that little valley, you can see the flats, the wide open prairie. What I think is unique about this area in southern Colorado is we're on the edge of 3 totally different ecosystems.
But between my ranch and all the places, the private ranches that we lease, we have 130,000 acres of private ground that we hunt. We're also permitted on close to 1.3 million acres of wilderness area. So we've got a ton of different country that we can take people hunting in.
On this hunt, we're driving to different locations, getting out, going up on top of the mountain and really just glassing a good bit. I mean, it's rifle season, it's not rut, it's not bow season, so they're not coming into calls. You're really having to locate them by looking, from high spots and looking down and trying to find these mule deer.
Set up, let me get a better look at it. Don't shoot yet. Go ahead and get set up. It's a big body. Let me just get a better look at his rack. Hold on. He has no idea we're here. We got all the time in the world. We got the wind. You want him, Haley? Okay, just hold on. Okay, there, he's got his head up. Hold on. Okay, he's not a bad buck, he's an older buck. It's probably a 3.5-year-old deer. He's got a good body before him. He's actually got some bass.
When we return, Southerner Haley Heath sets her sights on a western mule deer. The Outfitters is brought to you by the 2013 Ford Super Duty, built Ford tough. On his home turf in the southern Colorado Rockies, outfitter Fred Eichler wastes little time locating a muley buck for Haley Heath.
It's not a bad deer, but I'll tell you, even though we've got warm weather and we've got a full moon, I think we can find a better deer than that, but that's what they're doing. He's feeding in the meadow, he's going to work up into those trees early. So we've really got to try and find him early. But I don't want to spook him. Okay. So let's go ahead and just ease back out of here. We'll try and find a better buck.
You know, the temperatures are not near as cold as they should be this time of year here. So going out and finding mule deer is a lot more difficult than it usually is this time of year.
All right, we have a little bit of an issue. That wasn't up here the other day. Well, I'll give you the option. We either stop here and we can hike an extra 2 miles, or I can see if I can pull it.
Either way, whatever works best for you.
Well, I know you can make it, but I'll tell you, I got to bring some other clients up here next week, so let's see if we can get it out.
Okay. You know, getting to watch Fred on TV, and then when you're in camp as a client, watching him just with so much energy and so much excitement all the time, and it's just one of those things you look at and go, God, Fred's really living the dream. I mean, it's a dream to be an outfitter. That must be just a wonderful life, and it is, and he absolutely loves it. But I got to see kind of the behind the scenes, you know, having to work day in, day out, you know, it doesn't slow down for him. He doesn't really take a lunch break or a couple-hour nap, you know, during the middle of the day after the morning hunt. He puts so much hard work into this operation.
Then we got into another beautiful buck. It was a 2x2 and a nice 4x4 with little brows. So technically he'd be a 5x5. 4x4 mule deer with brow tines, a 5x5 buck, but he was a young deer. You could see by his face and his chest and his stomach that it was a younger deer. And Haley really kind of questioned me a little bit on that one. She's like, I'd be okay with that one, really. Like, I know it's a good deer, but it's a young deer. And even though we've got pretty rough hunting conditions, let's keep going. We're trying to look for that older, mature buck, something that I really want to get for you.
Next year, buddy.
The morning hunt ends as the temperatures climb and the deer head to their beds. But there will be no rest for Haley and Fred, as there is a long to-do list back on the ranch.
I absolutely loved being able to just help him in his daily chores. When we took a break from hunting, I was like, let me help you. You know, I mean, he was like, oh, you can go back and take a nap if you want to. I was like, no, I want to be a part of this, you know? So we got to go move the horses from one pasture to another and go feed the cows and, you know, all types of different things around the ranch that I was able to be a part of. And that was really fun. That was a lot of good times for me.
Between me, Michelle, and the kids, we really are, in my opinion, living the dream. We live in a beautiful place in southern Colorado, and we really are pretty much self-supportive. Michelle grows an incredible garden. She cans hundreds of quarts of vegetables every year. The kids help out with everything, whether it's the garden, whether it's feeding our hounds, whether it's feeding the chickens, taking care of the horses, taking care of the cattle that we have. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but it's really fun when the whole family pitches in and helps out.
You know, for Fred, a good truck is key in his operation, not only of just the ranch itself, but his outfitting business.
You know, I've always been a Ford man, and the big thing for me is reliability and safety. I cannot have something that's unreliable in the field. I move everything with my Ford. Equipment, horses, cattle, and the fact that I can tow up to 23,000 pounds, well, that gives me a lot of room to move a lot of stuff. You know, the technology that went into this Super Duty's towing system is impressive. It's got an integrated trailer brake controller, engine exhaust braking, and trailer sway control. My living depends on me taking clients out in the field. It also depends on me being able to get out in the field and hunt myself. I've got 3 Ford trucks. One has got 236,000 miles on the original engine. That says tough and long-lasting to me. You know, for me, having a truck is also freedom. It's freedom to go anywhere I want to go. And a Super Duty is a perfect truck to get me there.
I'm in southern Colorado hunting with Fred Eichler at his outfitting business called Full Draw Outfitters. And we're hunting for mule deer, and I have an elk tag as well. You know, Fred's ranch is just one of those places, he's got it down to a T. He's got his bunkhouse that has, you know, plenty of rooms, and then you walk right up to his house where, you know, it's always open to the guest. And I just think it's great the way that they have such great hospitality here. And they run cows and horses, and then of course they have dogs that they can do hunts with. And he has access to over 1 million acres of hunting land. I mean, so with that, you're liable to be able to go anywhere to hunt any kind of terrain, depending on what you're going after with him. So he just really is running a phenomenal outfitting business with tons of different animals and different options available year-round. How did all of this get started? Like, how did you get into outfitting? I mean, I know that you've loved to hunt since you were very young, but how did you get into doing this as your profession?
Well, actually, I was asked to do it. It was kind of funny. I was working for Dart International. They manufactured interactive target systems, and my job was to install these target systems all over the country and really all over the world. It was a really neat job, especially for a kid that started out working in an archery shop. Well, it seemed like everywhere I was going, people would say, "Oh my gosh, Colorado, do you know where I can hunt this, or do you know where I can hunt that?" So me and a couple buddies were like, "Wow, we do know where they can hunt this. We do know where they can hunt that." And I was a trapper, did a lot of trapping on a lot of big ranches.
See deer and elk in this area, so we could be getting on either one.
So I knew a lot of landowners because I would trap coyotes or beaver, you know, different animals on their place. So I started asking a few of them, and they gave me permission to run a business.
This is what we're looking for. That's a mule deer rub. You see the height of it? Yeah. Elk can be on a bigger tree usually and taller up. This is a perfect height for a mule deer.
So they're in here for sure.
Yeah.
So I got my outfitter's license and started guiding clients. And it started out small. You know, I think we took 20 people the first year, and then it just kept growing and growing. So I think almost any outfitter would tell you it's not something you make a ton of money at because you've got a lot of overhead, but it's something that you genuinely love to do. And I can't imagine not guiding. I mean, I love giving people great experiences and knowing that people have, whether it's antlers or a mount in their house, that when they look at it, they think Colorado, they think of me and the guys, and that's really cool to me.
Fred as an outfitter is just one of the most fun people to be around.
They don't see a whole lot of people up in these little canyons, so they're not too freaked out. The bucks aren't gonna act like that though, just so you know. Okay.
I mean, he is always laughing, he's always full of energy, and he's always just raring to go. He knows his areas, he knows the land he's hunting on, but at the same time, you're being entertained. I mean, it's not one of those things that you're going with an outfitter that knows the land, but you know, it's real quiet and reserved and just going after them. He's got it all. He's got the personality to go along with the ability to be a great outfitter and great guide at the same time.
Yeah, you know, the most challenging thing is probably what I love about it. I love being outdoors, and sometimes the challenge about being outdoors, you know, 12 months out of the year are weather conditions. This week is a prime example. We've got a full moon, we've got unseasonably hot weather, which is gonna make this a really tough hunt.
You know, we just never saw anything besides those 3 does. And so we decided at that point, let's go ahead and get back in the truck, go to a different location, and see if we can find some more mule deer. We were going and going, and all of a sudden we look over, and there is a spike and 2 does. This is really great. So we decided to walk a little bit further and get where we could glass a little bit more of the land to see if we could see other mule deer and see if there was a buck around there that we could shoot.
Top of the ridge.
Oh yeah, I see him. I'm on it.
It's a good buck.
You know, when I spotted Haley's buck, I was pretty excited because we had already passed up and seen some pretty decent bucks, including one 4x4 with little brows that I was starting to wonder if we should have even passed. When I saw the buck that I wanted Haley to try and take, I knew, one, it was a mature, older buck. Two, it had a nice wide spread. And even though it was just a heavy 3x3, I knew this was the buck that we were looking for.
That's a great one. I like him. Is he pretty easy to get to where we can get a shot?
Yeah, we want to shoot him. He has no idea we're here yet. Let's go ahead and come through here and see if we can get to him. Oh.
It was super exciting because not only do we have that buck, but we had another 4x4 standing next to him. So as if there wasn't enough going on with these two deer that were both good deer that I was trying to slip Haley up on, I look over in the binoculars and bang, I spot an elk bedded in the trees. I'm like, holy cow, Haley, we've got two deer and we've got elk.
The buck's about 240 yards. So I tell you what, if we blow this elk out, this deal's done. So let's try and slide up. We're gonna stay low. Be quiet. We're gonna slide up to this hill right here.
Okay.
With so many eyes and ears upon them, there is no room for error on the final approach when we return.
All right, we got two bucks.
Okay, I see one right now.
One's a pretty good buck. Listen, we got a 4x4, and I think the other's a real big 3.
Okay.
Left. Let's go on there and just see if we can get a shot from up here.
Okay.
Persevering through tough conditions, Fred and Haley have found their quarry. But now they have more company than they bargained for.
So as I slid Haley up in a position, we had to crawl. We did not want to blow the elk out. Here's part of the issue. We're sneaking up on two deer, but we've got an elk up on the ridge too. If either the deer or the elk see us, this game's over. So we've got to slip in there without getting spotted by elk or deer.
We've got shade in here, so let's just stay in the shade of this old brush.
You know, Fred looks over at me and it's like, we have got to be really careful going in because we have eyes all around us looking at us. I mean, we're gonna have to crawl, literally crawl up to this knoll to see if you can get a shot. So sure enough, we get to crawl in.
I think we can get a little closer. I'd like to get under 250.
When we crawl into position, I realized I want to get Haley set up on a real comfortable rest. I had left my bog pod back in the grass, and where she needed to shoot was from a prone position. So I slid my backpack up, I set Haley up on that so she had a steady shot. I ranged it at 245 yards.
Let's wait till he comes clear.
Yeah, I'll look and see.
Okay, now,
his head.
just to make sure, you see the 4x4s to the right. We want that bigger buck though, that older buck to the left.
Yeah, one to the left right behind him.
Let's just wait till he comes clear.
Okay. That's a good buck.
You comfortable?
Yeah, real comfortable.
Go ahead and take your safety off.
Okay.
My buck is right behind a tree and he's like, okay, just wait, just wait. Keep on waiting, keep on waiting. It never steps out, it never steps out. He's like, well, don't shoot the other one. It's a nice 4x4, don't shoot it though. He's like, this other one, even though it's a 3x3, is a really mature, good buck. So I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And finally,
You hit him. He's down. He's down.
that was awesome.
Nice
Thank you so much, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Fred. That was awesome.
That's a beautiful deer. Okay, now.
It was the best feeling to just drop him. He dropped right there. We knew he was down. And I was so tickled to finally have this giant mule deer, Colorado mule deer, down with Full Draw Outfitters.
All right, listen, we're gonna have a little bit of a hike, you know, up that ridge. It's a pretty steep ridge, but listen, we can get the truck, I think, pretty close.
Okay.
So let's go get the truck, get it in here as close as we can.
And then just drag him out to the
Get him
truck.
from there.
Perfect.
That'll be
Sounds
your
good.
job. All right.
Thanks.
Haley was a lot of fun to hunt with. Not only is she a good hunter, and I was pretty darn impressed. I mean, we walked her up some pretty steep hills, and she was right there on my heels the whole time. She was spotting all the deer instantly. As quick as I said, you know, we've got a deer over here, she was on it. She never let me carry her gun. I even offered to carry her gun a few times on some of the longer hikes. She said, nope, it's my rifle, I'll tote it. and you gotta love the Georgia accent. It was pretty funny. I see some big antlers poking out of the brush.
Yes.
Look at that buck.
Oh, he is huge. That is an awesome deer. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
That
Good
is
job.
awesome. Look
Is
at
that
him.
beautiful? Look
He
at the
is
mass on him.
Beautiful.
I'll take your rifle.
Okay. God, he's huge.
Gorgeous,
that.
isn't he?
Look
That's a
how
big mature
beautiful.
deer. I mean, that's probably a 300, maybe, he's 300 pounds, I bet you. Look at the size of his neck, shoulders.
He is huge. Because that other one that was up here with him was a 4x4.
It was a 4x4, right. The other one was a 4x4, but you
Not
see he was a
near as
little
big.
tighter. You know what I mean? He wasn't as wide, and it was a younger deer. If you look at the size of the deer's head, I mean, this is a big, look at the mass on him. That's just a mature, beautiful buck right there.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Fred. This
Good job.
has been awesome.
That was awesome.
My cheeks have hurt from laughing so much on this trip. That has been so
We've
much
had
fun.
some fun. That's going to be a great eating buck, and he's a beautiful trophy. I mean, really,
He is an awesome trophy.
He's got little brow tines on him
I'm
there.
tickled to
But that's
be
a
with him.
big mainframe 3x3 and a big mature buck.
And you couldn't pick a prettier spot. I mean, look at the
Yeah.
snow-covered mountains behind us, and
I got a pretty good office.
Well, Haley, one of the things here is when you harvest a deer or an elk or anything really with Full Draw Outfitters, you get to put an animal picture of you on the wall.